Mythic Mischief is an asymmetric, head-to-head tactical puzzle game for 1 to 4 players. In this video, I'm going to give you a brief overview of the rules and a detailed breakdown of how to play each of the 4 new factions in Mythic Mischief Volume 2. If you're looking for the full how to play, head to the video in the description below from Volume 1, and then head back here to learn about the new factions. In Mythic Mischief, you're trying to get your opponents kicked out of the hedge maze by the dreaded Groundskeeper. Each time you do, you'll score a mischief point. The first player to 10, or the player with the most points after the Groundskeeper reaches their final destination, wins the game. You'll play as one of the 4 new factions of Mythic Manor students. The Groundskeeper roams the maze, removing any students on their path. It's the perfect chance for the students of Mythic Manor to once again prove who is best in class. On your turn, you may use the abilities of your faction to manipulate nearly everything on the board, moving your mythics, moving your opponents, shifting bookshelves, and distracting the Groundskeeper, all with the goal of placing your opponents on their path. When an opponent is caught by the Groundskeeper on your turn, you score a mischief point. The team with the most mischief points at the end of the game is the winner. The game takes place over 2 phases, before and after dark. Each phase consists of 3 destinations where the Groundskeeper will travel. These locations are marked with destination tokens on the board, and their locations are determined by the before and after dark cards, which are chosen randomly at the beginning of the game. These cards also show the locations of tomes, which are placed throughout the board. Collecting tomes on your turn will allow you to permanently upgrade your faction's abilities. For the full rules, head to the link in the description. Now, before we get to the factions, I'd like to bring a few changes to your attention. First off, all characters from Volume 1, Volume 2, and the appendix box are interchangeable. Feel free to mix and match all factions on either board at all player counts. Second, Volume 1 had bookshelves in the library with a tomekeeper, and Volume 2 has hedges in the hedge maze with a groundskeeper. These terms are all interchangeable with each other across all volumes. And third, in Volume 1, the 2 game phases are called before and after lunch. In Volume 2, they are called before and after dark. These terms are also fully interchangeable with each other. The Fairies are class clowns. The Wander ability allows you to move an ally or enemy from a diagonal space to any orthogonal space. You may wander onto a cluttered space, but you cannot wander over hedges. The Fairies' wall move ability is called Antics. Antics allows you to take a hedge that is adjacent to one of your fairies and move to any open space next to an enemy mythic. As with all wall move abilities, you cannot block off a section of the hedge maze completely, and you may not move walls to the edge of the board. The Fairy's legendary ability is Pixie Dust. When activated, it allows you to switch the spaces of the Groundskeeper and an enemy. Lastly, the Fairy's After Dark special is called the Fairy Ring, which can be used in the second half of the game. Each turn you may attach the Fairy Ring to an adjacent enemy. At the beginning of your next turn, you may move this enemy up to 2 spaces orthogonally. Once this mythic is caught, the ring is removed. The debate team, the Gargoyles. The Glide ability allows you to move your mythic and any one neighboring enemy or ally in any orthogonal direction. This action moves your mythic, but does not require any movement actions. So it can be a great way to get around the board. You may glide into cluttered spaces, but you cannot glide through hedges. The Perch ability is very similar to the Glide. This ability allows the Gargoyles to move their mythic and any one adjacent hedge in any orthogonal direction. It doesn't require a move action and can also be used to move onto clutter. Another fun addendum, the Perch and Glide abilities may be used simultaneously to move a mythic and a hedge at the same time. The Gargoyles' legendary ability is Stone. Drop a stone token under any mythic. Nothing can move or pass through that mythic until your next turn. This is a great way to reroute the Groundskeeper or to use as a defensive measure to prevent your opponent from catching you on their turn. When using this ability, remember that you can never fully block off movement to any part of the hedge maze. This ability also may not be used on top of any destination tokens. Lastly, we have the Gargoyles After Dark special. During the After Dark phase, your opponents must spend 1 additional movement point to enter the space of any of your mythics. If you're standing on a space with clutter, it would take 3 movement points to enter that space. This is a great way to cause problems for your opponent. The Werewolves, the metalheads of Mythic Manor. They are a powerful faction that can really move opponents and walls, but in turn can be a bit tricky to control. Their Fling ability allows them to move an adjacent mythic 2 spaces perpendicularly. If the flung mythic cannot move twice because of a wall or mythic in the way, it will instead only move 1 space. You may not fling over hedges or the groundskeeper, but you may fling onto a cluttered space or over other mythics. The Werewolves' wall move ability is called Heave. It allows you to move an adjacent hedge in any orthogonal direction as far as it can go until it meets a parallel wall. This ability allows you to throw walls over mythics and even the Tomekeeper. Just remember, you may not close off any part of the hedge maze. Next, we have the Full Moon, Werewolves' legendary ability. When activated, attach the Full Moon status to one of the werewolves. That mythic can now fling over hedges and the groundskeeper. Once this mythic is caught by the groundskeeper, the status is removed. Lastly, for the werewolves, we have their After Dark special, Shredder. Once per turn after dark, one werewolf may remove an adjacent clutter or hedge per turn from the board. Peace and love to you. We are now talking about the hippies of Mythic Manor, the Gnomes. The Gnomes introduce some delicious puzzliness to their basic movement ability. So first we'll look at the Burrow. The Gnomes' movement action trackers are split in 2. The first dice works like a normal movement action tracker, but the second is split into this brand new ability. A Burrow allows your mythic to move 2 spaces in any orthogonal direction, ignoring everything in the space it skips. You may burrow onto a cluttered space as well as under the hedges, the groundskeeper, and other mythics. Next, we've got Shifty. This ability allows you to move an adjacent mythic to any other adjacent space. You may Shifty onto a cluttered space, but you cannot Shifty over a hedge. The Gnome's wall move ability is called Illusion. This ability allows you to move an adjacent hedge to another adjacent space next to that mythic. Then, the legendary ability, Potion. When activated, you may reset any one of your action dice back to what it was at the beginning of your turn, matching the number above its slot. And finally, the Gnome's After Dark ability, Uproot. Once per turn, you may move 1 destination token up to 1 space orthogonally. This ability ignores clutter and hedges, but you may not move a destination onto another destination. And that does it. We hope you enjoyed learning how to play these new Mythic Mischief factions. If we missed anything, please let us know in the comments on Board Game Geek, or hit us up on Discord and ask us there. Thanks for watching.